On the phone, we have Baseball Hall of Famer Rollie Fingers. How you doing today, Mr. Fingers?
Doing great, thank you.
I see that the Dodgers drafted you originally. How come you didn't end up playing with them? What ended up happening there? Because their farm system was loaded back in the '60s.
At the time, it was in 1964, and I had played on an American Legion team, and our team from Upland, California, went all the way back to Little Rock, Arkansas, and won the World Series. And that's where all the scouts saw me. All of a sudden, I was voted the Player of the Year in American Legion, and I led the nation in hitting. So there were a lot of scouts there, and some of the scouts liked me as a pitcher, some of the scouts liked me as a hitter. So that winter after the World Series, the Dodgers and I think Pittsburgh were interested, and then Kansas City was interested, and the Dodgers had offered me a contract of $20,000, and my dad said no. He said, "You do not want to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers," even though I was a big Dodger fan growing up as a kid. He said no because of at the time they had Koufax and Drysdale. And, they had a great team, and their minor league system consisted of about 20 teams back then. I mean, that would have been buried. So my dad said no, and about a week and a half later, Art Lilly from the Kansas City A's knocked on the door, and at that time they were in last place, needed pitching, and my dad said okay. So I took, really, the Dodgers offered me $20,000, and Kansas City offered me $13,000. So I signed with Kansas City, got my $13,000, gave my dad $3, bought my mom a sewing machine, and I bought a '56 Chevy, and I blew the rest. So it went pretty quick.
Did you
But that's why I went with Kansas City.
Did you tell your dad, listen, you cost me $7,000. You shouldn't get anything out of this signing bonus?
No, I wasn't going to argue with my dad. He seemed to know what was going on, and he did his research on the Dodger system and saw what Kansas City at the time had like 5 or 6 teams in their minor leagues, and the Dodgers had about 20. So the Dodgers were absolutely signing just about everybody you could think of, all the top prospects, and Charlie Finley at the same time. He had hired a pretty good scouting system, and he went for pitching. I think he signed like 8 or 9 of the top pitchers in the country at the time. So a couple of guys got to the big leagues, including myself.
Do you still have that '56 or '57 Chevy?
Oh no, I wrecked it a couple of times. It's long gone. I wish I had it now, though. It would have been worth some money. It was nice.
I see that in the minor leagues that you got hit by a ball. Did that affect you when you went back out pitching? Did you fear that every time a ball got hit back to you, that might hit you?
You're a little skeptical, and when I came back, I was out for 2 months, and a funny story. I was at a banquet in Cincinnati, and I was sitting at the dais, and I'm waiting to give a little talk, and a guy comes up to me at the dais, and he says, "Do you remember that curveball you threw at me in Birmingham, Alabama on opening night?" And I said, "Are you Fred Kovner?" And he says, "Yep." And it was Fred Kovner, the guy that hit me in the face with the line drive. And this was about 40 years after the fact, 45 years after the fact. And he said he wanted to come to the banquet. He knew I was going to be there, and he wanted to apologize for hitting me. And I said, "Look, don't worry about it." It taught me a lesson. I got my glove up after that. But, you're a little nervous, and I had to face him my first game back after I got hit. And, it's just something that it didn't really think about. I didn't really think about it that much. I just got real lazy on one pitch and didn't get my glove up, and I got hit. So any young pitchers, always make sure you have your glove up there because it comes back at you pretty quick.
You were a starter in the minor leagues. How did you end up being a closer or relief pitcher?
I got to the big leagues as a starter. I had a few good starts. I had 4 or 5 complete games, and threw a couple shutouts. But it just got to the point where I couldn't get out of the 3rd inning. And Dick Williams was our manager in 1971, and he had seen enough, and he farmed me off to the bullpen. And I was more or less a mop-up guy in 1971, about mid-season. And we were having a game in New York, and we were getting beat like 11-3, and all of a sudden we're winning 13-11 in the 8th inning. And we came back, and I'm the only guy left. He's used the whole pitching staff, and so he's got to use me. And I come in at the Yankee Stadium and pitch 2 shutout innings. and get a save. And the next night, we'd gone to, I believe, Boston, and I came in and pitched 3 innings in Boston and got a save, and he called me in his office and said, from now on, you're my closer. And I said, that's fine, great, because I was on my way out of baseball. I was on my way to the minor leagues because, they couldn't get you out. I mean, that's how bad it was. It was horrible. So, I kind of found a home down there. I wasn't going to argue with him. I started doing the job, getting guys out, and in game situations, he started going to me, and I saved 17 ball games from about mid-season on in 71.
He threw you right in the fire. I mean, 2 of the hardest places to pitch, Yankee Stadium and Fenway Park.
Oh, yeah. Well, I figured if I could do it at those 2 ballparks, I could do it just about anywhere. So he kept using me, and I kept doing the job. I didn't get everybody out all the time, but 85-90% of the time I was doing my job. And in 1971, we had a great team. And if I did make a mistake and gave up a run, we usually came back and scored something. So that's how I became a relief pitcher, because I was on my way out of baseball. I owe it all to Dick Williams.
That A's team back in the early 70s, they were just loaded, and you had a bunch of characters. What was it like playing for that team?
We had a lot of fun. We all came up through the minor leagues. It's not like it is today where, you get a lot of free agency. This is before free agency. And we all played together. I mean, I remembered Reggie Jackson joining us in Modesto, California as a young kid out of ASU. Joe Rudy and Dave Duncan were on that team. Tony La Russa was my second baseman. Then we had other guys that were playing in Burlington, Iowa, Vida Blue and Gene Tennis, and Sal Bando and Rick Mundy came up from Birmingham, or from Mobile, Alabama. So we, everybody came up through the minor leagues that were on those World Championship teams, and we played together. And we all hit the big leagues about the same time, right around 1969, 1970, 68. And we played together for a couple of years, and everything started to gel. I mean, we knew what to expect of each other. We were fundamentally strong. We didn't make any mental errors, and we played good. And we had great timely hitting and good defense. I mean, that's what it takes to win.
Who was the leader on those teams?
Oh, golly. Sal Bando was our captain. He was really into the game. He knew the hitters. There was a lot of times if a hitter came up, I didn't know who he was or, what kind of a hitter he was. Sal Bando always knew. He always said in the meetings, always knew the hitters. And so he was more or less our captain. Reggie Jackson was a pretty good leader when it came to offense. Reggie loved the TV camera. When the red light came on the TV camera, that's when he was his best. And that's true. And as we got into the World Series of the years, and with the Oakland A's and with the New York Yankees, he always rose to the occasion with home runs. And but we had a whole bunch of guys. Catfish Hunter, he was our leader on our pitching staff. We could always depend on him. If I ever needed a game to win, I would hand the ball to Catfish. And we also had Ken Holtzman and Vida Blue. These guys were winning 20 games every year, and they're going out, the staff's complete in 55, 45, 55, 60 ball games a year. And so, they were a strong pitching staff, and that's how we won. We didn't win so much on offense as we did on pitching. We only had one guy that hit 300, and that was Joe Rudy, and I think he hit 304 one year. So, our pitching staff was where it was at, and we didn't lose the 2-1 games, the 3-2 ball games. Those are the ones we usually won.
What made Dick Williams such a good manager?
He was a fundamentalist. He'd been down the road. Everybody respected him, and I think he did one thing that managers need to know how to do, and that's run a pitching staff. He knew what guys that he wanted to bring in. He knew who did well against certain guys. He was a strategist. He knew the game. He's been around. He was around it for a long time, but he knew how to run the pitching staff, and the pitching staff that we had was perfect for him. He knew what he was doing.
Do you think there's ever going to be another team that could be champion 3 straight years, like you were in 72, 73, and 74?
I don't know. It's going to be pretty tough. You don't think you see too many three-peats. In today's game, with free agency, a guy's contract comes up, he may be your number 1, number 2 ball player, and all of a sudden he's going to some other team. And, guys jump around too much, I think, nowadays, with free agency. They're going after the money, and who can blame them? I mean, the money is staggering nowadays. I think that's one reason why you're not going to see those things happen. And this right now, I don't know what's causing it, but there's so many injuries. I mean, so many pitchers are on the disabled. I think someone told me yesterday that there's 70 pitchers already on the disabled list in the big leagues. I mean, that's crazy. In Oakland, when I played there, I don't ever remember Catfish or Vita Blue or Kenny Holtzman being on the disabled list for 5 years. And they were throwing 250, 300 innings a year. But I don't know what it is nowadays with the injuries that these guys are getting.
I don't think they throw enough to build up the arm strength. I mean, they throw harder, but they baby the arms.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, I don't know if I could do it the way they do it today. I mean, I needed a lot of work to stay sharp. I needed my 120, 25, 30, 35 innings a year, to stay sharp. I didn't mind going out there for 3 or 4 innings. That's how you get sharp. If you throw 1 inning and then you wait 2 days and throw 1 more inning, and I don't think I could do that. I needed a lot of work.
What made you successful as a closer? Was it just the amount of work, or was it your pitches?
You need the 3 things that every pitcher needs to be successful in the big leagues. You need control, you need control, and you need control. You don't have those 3 things, you're going to have a problem, especially as a closer. You have to get first pitch strike. You have to have an idea where you're throwing the ball. You have to be able to throw the ball where you want to. You're not going to throw it there every time, but you got to be pretty consistent in the area, throwing strikes. And when you miss, if you miss, don't miss on the plate. Miss off the plate. If you're going to try to throw a fastball away for a strike, don't miss on the plate. Miss away. And if you miss away, it's a ball. If you miss on the plate, it's a home run. So I think that's the way. But just being able to throw the ball in the area, I think that is your biggest asset as a closer. And then you have to learn how to pitch. You can't teach pitching. You have to learn how to pitch. You have to take the arsenal of pitches that you throw out on the mound and you start experimenting. What works for you? What sequence of pitches is going to work for you to get guys out? And when you figure that out, then you're going to be successful. I mean, I watched Kenny Holtzman in Oakland and Catfish Hunter. They were both, they weren't overpowering, but they had great control, great command of their pitches, and they didn't make mistakes, and that's why they won 20 games.
I remember when you went to the Brewers and played with the over-the-hill gang, they called it. I mean, you had some great players there in Cecil Cooper, Ogilvy, Pete Vukovich, yourself, and you played for a great manager in Harvey King. What was that like?
It was fun in Milwaukee. I would have hated to have had to face, our lineup. I mean, they were deep, and they were all great hitters. Paul Mulder, Robin Yount, Cecil Cooper, Ben Ogilvy, Ken Simmons, Gorman Thomas. Jim Gantner. We had the best double play combination in baseball with Gantner and Yount. A couple Hall of Famers in there. We had pretty good pitching. Pitching could have probably been a little bit better, but Mike Caldwell pitched real well. Moose Haas, Pete Vukovich won the Cy Young 1 year. So, we had a great ball club in the early 80s, 81, 82, 83. And, we had a lot of fun. It's always fun when you win. And that ball club in Milwaukee, if you put a winner on the ball field in Milwaukee, you're going to draw a lot of people. We had some great fans.
Did you have the toughest hitter you faced? Who was it?
Probably a guy you would never even think about. In fact, he just passed away recently. That was Ed Herman. He used to be a catcher for the White Sox. I think I faced him 25 times, and he got 13 hits off me. I couldn't get him out. I was just one of those guys that he's coming up to the plate, and he's going to get a hit. And then I would face Rod Carew and Pete Rose and George Brett, and I always managed to get those guys out. But Ed Herman was the toughest hitter for me in a game situation. I didn't want to face him. I almost got to the point where I told him what was going to come, because I knew he was going to hit it anyway. So,
how did the mustache come about?
Me too. At spring training, Reggie Dixon with a mustache and didn't want to shave it off. So there was about 3 or 4 of us guys, and then Catfish and Darryl Knowles. We decided we were going to grow mustaches, and if we grew mustaches, then Dick Williams, our manager, would say, "Okay, guys, cut them off," because at the time there was no facial hair in the big leagues. So Charlie Finley got wind of what was going on. He liked the idea of mustaches, and so he told everybody on the club that you make the ball club, and on opening day you have a mustache, you get $300. And that's the only reason why we started growing mustaches, was to get $300 out of Charlie. Back then that was a week's salary, so we didn't mind doing it, and all of a sudden we started winning. I think we started the season, I think we were 9-2 or something. I mean, we were just clubbing everybody, and ball players are the most superstitious animals in the world. And we kept them, and we ended up winning the World Series in '72, and we won it '73, won it '74, became the Mustache Gang, and it kind of stuck. So we kept them for years after that, and I've never shaved mine off. There's a couple of guys that I still have. I think Joe Rudy's never shaved his off. Gene Tennis has shaved his off and grown it back a couple of times. So. But it was fun. We had some characters on that team, but we all had mustaches and got $300 from Charlie. That was the key.
What was Charlie like as an owner?
A pain in the neck. Nobody really liked him. He's the only owner in the history of the game not to put a diamond in a World Series ring. Our '73 and '74 rings that we got, he just put a piece of green glass in it. That was it. And so he didn't really treat the players that good. The contract time was horrible because he was also the general manager, so you had to deal directly with him for contracts. And this was before agents. And I hated it. In 1972, I was making $29,000, and we won the World Series. And I saved 2 games and won 1 game. We beat the Reds, and Charlie sent me a $1,000 raise. And I said that was it. I called Charlie up. I told him what I thought of his raise. I slammed the phone down. I got Jerry Kapstein as an agent, and I never talked to the man again after that. For the next 5 years with the Oakland A's, I never said one word to Charlie Finley. And most of the guys were in the same boat that I was. They hated negotiating with him because he just didn't want to part with his money, no matter how good you were.
Did you have a favorite team to play for, or a favorite manager to play for?
Dick Williams. He was the guy who kept me in the big leagues. He was the guy who changed my career around. He had enough confidence in me to keep me as a closer, and that was my bread and butter. I had the type of arm where I could throw every day, and he threw me out there and gave me the ball. That's what you want. You want your manager to give you the ball. If he has confidence in you enough to do that, then that gives you confidence. So I'd have to say Dick Williams would be the one guy that as far as the manager goes. I mean, I played 17 years in the big leagues, and I had 14 managers. Dick was there the longest. He was there 3 years. So every time I have a good year, a manager gets fired. I don't know what to do.
You won a ton of awards, but I think the hardest award you won was the MVP because it's difficult enough for a starter to get it, but for a closer, it's impossible almost. Very few have done it. You, Willie Hernandez, that's the only 2 I could think of.
Yeah, I think Murray had a great year. Somebody had a great year that year also, and I wasn't expecting it. I knew I might be high on the list for the Cy Young Award, but I didn't know. I had Jim McCaddy, I think it was, for Oakland, had a great year that year. But when I won both, I was certainly surprised. I didn't expect the MVP award, but I was happy to get it. Not that many guys had done that, and so it was certainly a great honor, and it was nice to have that kind of year.
When people say that a closer or a pitcher shouldn't get the MVP, what's your opinion on that?
I don't. I think there's been other pitchers that have won MVPs. I think if you have a good enough year, I think if you're the kind of a player that can carry a team for the whole year, if you go out there and you're a starting pitcher and you win 25, 26 ball games, and you have a great ERA, you win the big ball games. You have a lot of complete games. Why not? I mean, MVP is an MVP no matter what position you're at. So. If you had that type of year and you voted in, certainly, I think you're able to get it.
I remember you from the TV commercials in the 80s. How do you spell relief? Do you still spell relief that way?
I haven't done any TV commercials, for how you spell relief. That was a Rolaids thing, and I didn't do really any commercials for Rollies. It was just the name of the award, and then I think they stopped giving. I think they're coming up with a new award now for relief pitchers right now. I did a couple of. I did a McDonald's commercial when I was in Milwaukee, and I did a Pepsi commercial here, in the last couple of years, but not a whole lot of commercials. They weren't thrown my way that much. So, I didn't mind it.
How did you feel when you found out you were going into the Hall of Fame?
It was nice. I missed it the first year in 1991. I think Rod Carew, Gaylord Perry, a couple other guys went in. There was about 4 guys that went in, and I missed it. I missed it like by 30 votes, I think. And then the next year, Tom Seaver and I were on the ballot, and I figured, well, if there's a chance to get in, it's going to be this year. So I made it by 30 points, or by 30 votes. So, it was exciting. It's you never know. You never know how the sports writers are going to vote. And, and especially I had really nothing to gear myself off of as to, other relief pitcher. The only other relief pitcher that was in the hall was Hoyt Wilhelm. And he was a knuckleballer. He played, years before me, and he was a starter and relief pitcher. So, as a closer, I was really the first one to get in that was specifically just really a closing pitcher. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to get in or not, but I was happy I did. It's certainly a great honor. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, you win awards, you win Cy Youngs, you win MVPs, Fireman of the Year awards, but these are awards you win over the course of just 1 year. And getting into the Hall of Fame, that's something that took 17 years for me. So it's certainly the greatest honor any player could get.
When you would go to the Hall of Fame, you'd see all the great Hall of Famers. Is there one that stood out? You said, I can't believe I'm in the Hall of Fame with this guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I grew up as a kid from Brooklyn. I became a Dodgers fan. I lived about 20 miles from L.A., so I knew all the Dodger players. I knew, Duke Snyder, Gil Hodges, from John Maury Wills, Jim Kidd. I knew all of them. I knew their numbers. I mean, I was a huge Dodger fan, but my idol, was Sandy Koufax. If Sandy Koufax was pitching, I was listening. So, and now all of a sudden I'm sitting in Cooperstown, and we're sitting at the same table having dinner. It's it's kind of crazy, but we've become good friends now.